Hello everybody, welcome back to Reaper Minis TV. We have several reviews for this episode, so let's get right to them. First up, we have a release from the Chronoscope line. This is a pack of 3 new gray aliens. So these are the little gray, as the name implies, fairly featureless as far as their body is concerned, aliens. Now, Reaper had previously released another set of gray aliens, which you can see here, but this new set is going to look a little bit different than the earlier ones. The earlier set had more smooth bodies, and they might have been wearing spacesuits. Not totally sure, but they did look a little smoother, maybe a little more cartoony or a little less serious. This pack of gray aliens has a little bit more definition of the bodies. You can make out a little bit more muscle structure here or there, and they don't look like your kind of cutesy little gray aliens like the first pack. We will shift over to the Warlord line now, starting off with Grond. He's a dwarf assassin, and immediately I thought of using him as a dwarf assassin in our Warhammer Fantasy roleplay game. Now, the figure is in a good action pose. I really like the way he's kind of sticking his 2 daggers out there and he's ready to really put it to someone. The problem with the figure is the way these 2 daggers are sculpted, it does make them a little bit, brittle's not the right word, but prone to getting bent is really what they are. He's wearing leather armor with a long flowing cloak that's got a hood to it. His face and presumably his beard is covered up by a mask, and overall I really just like the figure a lot. I don't have a Kragmar dwarf army for Warlord, so I would definitely drop him into our Warhammer Fantasy roleplay game, but I think you could get use out of him in D&D or a similar game. This next guy is Dramorian. He is a spellcaster for the Dark Reach faction in Warlord, so he's a dark elf. And it comes in 2 pieces. His left arm and staff come as a separate piece that's molded onto the casting tab, so you have to carefully clip that off and glue it into place. He goes together easily enough. There was a little bit of cleaning necessary down on his cape and on the casting tab, but really not too much at all. He cleaned up pretty easily. Now, I decided against using him in the new Dark Reach army that I'm putting together and used the Pathfinder spellcaster I showed you in the last episode. And for me, this guy just, I'm not sure what it is. I'd rather use him as a player character model, and I think he fits that role better as a spellcaster, rather than put him in that army. Maybe it's just I like the Pathfinder figure better, I'm not sure. But anyway, you could use this guy as a human, as a half-elf, as an elf, dark elf, pretty much any kind of tall humanoid, and I think he'd work out just fine. And into the Dark Heaven Legends line now. First up we have a wizard and a crystal ball. As you guessed, there's 2 pieces here. You've got the wizard and a giant ornamental hand that's holding a very large crystal ball. This is not a little crystal ball like you'd put on a table. This is a much larger scrying device that he's got here. The hand itself is done just fine, needed very little cleanup, just a little bit of extra metal from the casting process, but no defects or anything like that. It would make a very good piece of dungeon furniture, or part of a diorama, or just something that the adventurers in a dungeon crawl happen upon before they get to the evil wizard who's going to do them in. So the crystal ball by itself is good, with the wizard even better. The wizard is going to be a pretty stereotypical looking wizard, at least to me. He's got a long scraggly beard, a pointed hat, he's carrying a staff in his right hand. His staff looks like it is carrying another smaller crystal ball in it, so I think that was a nice additional use of a crystal ball-like detail in the miniature. So you've got the big one in the hand and the little one that's in his staff, so I thought that was kind of neat. Next we have a 3-pack of animals that is not billed as a group of familiars, but I think you could probably use them that way if you wanted to. They would be pretty non-standard familiars if you did, because we've got an Aardvark, a Kangaroo, and a Koala bear here. The Kangaroo and Koala are both single-piece miniatures. You can see the Koala is sitting up in a tree. With the Aardvark, you're going to need to clip the head off of the base of the figure and then attach it. It's not a big deal or anything, but there is a little bit of assembly and cleaning involved there. All 3 of them are really nicely detailed animals, but like I said, if you're going to use them as familiars, they're kind of non-standard. If you're going to use them as regular animals, you probably have a pretty specific scenario or use in mind for them, and for that, they're fine. For me, I don't really have a use for them right now, but I might be able to think of something in the future. Now this next figure, I can definitely think of many uses for it. It's a fly demon, and as you'd expect, it looks like a really giant fly. I'm not really sold on the demon part of it yet. It does look a little different than a normal fly. Maybe it reaching out towards its victim as the top of the torso sort of is, gives it more of a demonic feel, but it is essentially a giant fly. You get a base, the body, and then 2 wings and 4 appendages that you're going to glue into place. The base is decorated with a couple of skulls and a piece of wood, and then the back part of the fly demon sits on a little bit of a mound or some piled up rocks that are at the back side of the base, and then you put the legs into place and the wings, and it's sort of flying towards wherever it's going. Now, since you have so many parts, you have 6 pieces in addition to the body that you need to clean and put into place. Expect to spend a little bit of time doing that, but none of that process is really going to be difficult at all. Now, as far as uses, I think you could use it in a Call of Cthulhu or any kind of horror game. You could use it in a sci-fi game or even a modern game as the creation of some kind of mad scientist. I think you could use it in a fantasy game as some sort of creature of evil design or something like that, or just some mutated giant fly. Or use it as a fly demon, whatever. But I think you've got a bunch of good uses here. And last up for this episode, we have a new blister of Mouslings. These are space Mouslings. And in the blister pack, you get 3 bodies and 6 heads. With the bodies, they're all carrying ray guns. One of them has a rifle, not just a little ray pistol or blaster pistol. They're all wearing spacesuits. They have jetpacks on the back, and then a place for you to pick which head you want to put on the figure. I'm not going to get deep into it, but 2 of the Mouslings are male, 1 is a female. I'm not going to describe Mousling anatomy for you, but trust me on that. With the heads, the helmeted heads are not all identical. 2 of them are, but then there's one that's a little smaller and the visor's a little more rounded than the others. That's the female's helmeted head, or you can just go with the unhelmeted version of any of the 3 Mouslings. Alright everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Reaper Minis TV. We'll see you next time.